pass and garden, back here, no. What is this?
And you say the cabinet has taken the lands without your consent?
Exactly. Government collaboration with the land commission. And this kind of land commission, they are bogus so far so good.
The Deputy Chief of Staff, Emmanuel Edumwa Bosman, received the petition and said government will study it and get back with feedback.
We want to keep in the spirit of democracy. As you know, this year is an election year. We want to do everything in a clean, peaceful, and calm manner. So I've received this petition on behalf of the President. I'll submit same, and I can assure you that it will be looked into and the appropriate measures taking place as and when it is deemed fit and proper to do so. Thank you so very much.
To the allodial landowners. And therefore, if you are going to sell it, sit down with them, think about it. Now, what is the benefit to our people? Have you thought about it? Who is going to take over? How much is the hotel sold? What procurement processes do they follow for a sitting member of parliament and a sitting minister of state to benefit from information that is sacred for anyone to contest for procurement processes? This is a violation of ethical rules.
And we will never sit down to let this happen. Ghanaian youth, this is the time. This is the time. Don't sit back and say, it is really important that we all see the importance for we to come together and fight against this oppression.
Right, so a cross-section of Ghanaians hit the streets to demonstrate, asking that the persons who are politically exposed, who are seeking to take an interest in state-owned, SNIT hotels should back off. There is Bryan Champong, whose hotel, Rock City, has been in the lead in this process. And there's also Freddie Blay's son, who is also in the process for the beachfront, which some say is a bizarre circumstance in the manner in which it's being done. So, Samuel Kujato Ablakwa is here, Demon Investigations Limited. So he brought up this matter to the public sometime last month, and this whole discussions began. You have petitioned Shraj. The question that is being asked is, why go on the streets after petitioning Shraj?
Well, thank you very much, Samson. Let me begin by commending the thousands of Ghanaians who took time off their busy schedules to demonstrate. It reflects a certain revulsion, a certain strong condemnation of what is transpiring before us. State capture, public officials who are engaged in clear conflict of interest transactions. I want to salute the chiefs of Ga and La for coming out in their numbers. I was really surprised to see them. Hardly do you see chiefs participate in demonstrations. They would normally just give a blessing and hope that the youth will take on the charge. But in this case, they participated themselves from beginning to the end, led by the La Wulomo of La, Ni Yamu Obroni the 7th of La, revered Wulomo and all his chief priests who poured libation, asked for the blessing of our ancestors. I want to also celebrate organized labor for joining us, TUC, the Ghana Federation of Labor, the Nurses and Midwives Association, all the political parties, the NDC, the CPP, the PNC, who all came out in their numbers, the Honorable Fifi Kwete and
Arise Ghana.
Arise Ghana, the Ghana Action Network. I want to celebrate all of them, including the youth groups, the Coalition of La Youth Associations, the United Gadangbe Caucus, all of those who came out in their thousands to send a clear message to President Akufo-Addo that we demand that he puts an end to this transaction. It is not in the national interest. And I am glad, Samson, that nobody can accuse me in particular of just waking up to this threat. 16 years ago, I went to the Supreme Court.
You have been accused already that you have been asleep during your tenure by your friend here.
Yes,
that's
clearly
you just woke up to activism.
I mean, it is shocking.
He went in abeyance when he was in government.
It is shocking that he will say that because he knows very well, and he's read all the law reports, I believe, and he knows that in a 6-3 decision, even though I lost, but to the credit of the likes of Atuguba and Sofa Akufu, who later became Chief Justice, they predicted that we will be where we are today, that their colleagues should take a broader view and a nationalistic approach towards this canker. If the Supreme Court, in that case where Jacob Echebilamte sought to purchase his bungalow, because I argued that, look, under the Constitution, if you acquire land and you have a different use of it, it's no longer going to be used as a bungalow for public officials. You now want to make it a private property. You should give it out. And the clear conflict of interest situation. If all ministers before him were buying their bungalows, there will have been none left. You know, but here we are today. We're talking about SNIT divesting itself of 60% of its shares in. We started at 6 hotels, again in a bizarre and total mutilation of our procurement laws. It moves from 6 to 4, where 4 of the juiciest hotels in the pack are picked. We are saying that this is a clear case of conflict of interest under Article 284 and 287 of the Constitution. We are also saying that the conflict of interest safeguards provided under Articles 78 and 98 of the Constitution, where public officials, MPs, ministers, must go through a process, go to the committee of members holding office. Let the committee really look into your transactions, what you intend to do, to be sure that you will not be caught in a conflict of interest situation.
Yes, the provision says, Article 98, Clause 2, a member of Parliament shall not hold any office of profit or emolument, whether private or public, either directly or indirectly, unless permitted to do so by the Speaker acting on the recommendations of a Committee of Parliament on the grounds that A, holding that office will not prejudice the work of a Member of Parliament, and B, no conflict of interest arises or would arise as a result of the member holding that office. And in Article 78, Clause 3, this is repeated to cover ministers.
Excellent. So in the case of the Honorable Bryan Champong, he's both an MP and a minister, and he's caught under those 2 provisions. Diligent checks at the Committee of Members Holding Profit revealed that he's not one of 47 MPs and ministers who went through this requirement. So does not have a certificate from the Speaker to hold an office of profit. And that is why we have gone to Shraj. Now you ask, you've gone to Shraj.
He says he's a non-executive whatever of the company, even though he's the sole shareholder.
He's the sole shareholder, he's the sole beneficial owner, and he's one of 2 directors. He has not relinquished his interest in the company. I did a diligent check. I have all the articles of incorporation from the Registrar of Companies. So he cannot run away from that. All profits will come to him. Now, Article 284 of the Constitution is very clear. A public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office. So you see the standard very high, conflicts or is likely to. And in the classic case of Anani, where this provision really was tested, you know, Shraj delivered a very, very profound decision. And I want to read from page 21 of that Shraj decision in the Anani case. And this is Anna Bosman. The commissioner has held that a public official breaches this provision not only where there is actual conflict of interest, but also where there is a likelihood of conflict of interest, where there is already in existence a personal relationship between a public officer and another person, or between their respective institutions or companies. There is an onerous responsibility on the public officer to ensure that all future transactions between the two persons or institutions are conducted with utmost transparency and in such a manner as to avoid suspicion of any improper motive or conduct, unquote. You know, so even suspicion, even if it is indirect, even if it is likely, you know, so these matters, when it comes to good governance, when it comes to transparency, accountability, it's a high test. And that is why we have gone to Shraj. Now, the reason why we are still agitating is because you and I know that Shraj does not have injunction powers. After we went to Shraj on the 17th of May, we intercepted further documents that they were proceeding to do final due diligence under this transaction. And that if care is not taken, we will be presented with a fait accompli. And it wouldn't matter the Shraj decision. You remember even in the Domelevo case, you and your colleagues, civil society, went to court. But by the time the court decision came many months after Domelevo had been removed, that victory, I don't know how you call that kind of victory, Domelevo could not be reinstated and all of that. We do not want that situation because we know that this government has the tendency to act in impunity. Ideally, with the Shraj petition, everybody should back off. But organized labor were told to go and meet the employment minister and the Senate board by the president. Surprisingly, when they went for those meetings, it was an attempt to convince them to accept this transaction. So we are continuing with these agitations so that the president and...
I thought there's rather a meeting for Tuesday.
Yes, but
next Tuesday.
To meet the president directly.
Okay.
The initial request was to meet the president. The president said that they should go meet the minister and the Senate board. So I am glad that we continue with the agitations, and we've presented this petition, a 15-point petition, which was received by the Deputy Chief of Staff on behalf of the President. And our demands are very clear. We want the President to intervene and stop this sale. It's not in the national interest. Labadi Beach Hotel, as we all know, very, very profitable. We've put out the numbers. If you look at their gross profit of last year, 158 million. Operating profit, 58 million. They have declared 55 million. If you look at what they have in their accounts currently, cash in their accounts, is 58.4 million. Very, very profitable hotel. Even the hotels that are struggling, it is an issue of management. We are saying that stop the political appointments and engage a management company, employ the right people who can do a great job. If you employ the right people, in the case of Labadi, as we have seen, paying dividend to government 25 million cedis last year, we can have the success that we are all looking for. And these hotels built by workers' contributions can then help all of us. We are also saying that we want the president to commit that he will sign our private members bill, which Professor Kweku Azai and others are helping us put together, so that public officials will be expressly, because you know they are taking advantage of gray areas and all of that. And this has been going on for too long. And you see the state capture going on all over. I can produce documents here, which is really a worrying trend, and we need to end it. This has led...
Is it not belated? The parliament has less than 6 months. Effectively, you have like some 5 months. And even the campaign periods, you can clearly see. Today, you can't marshal 92 people into the house.
Well, you have a point.
Why is it that after you were done with the Jacob Echebi Lamte case in 2012, you didn't do this now that you are doing it?
Well, we thought that, you know, that also generated quite an uproar. There was an upheaval, and we thought that it will stop and public officials will be minded. But it clearly has reared its ugly head again, and now we want to deal with it once and for all. We believe that...
My point is that you can't get a private members bill through before this parliament rises.
Well, we have some 5 months. Let's see. We are confident.
Okay.
We are determined to work hard and achieve this.
I see. So let's come to this. What should the president be doing? SNIT is duly constituted, has a board. The Labadi Beach Hotel has a management. What should the president do? Say, forget all your corporate governance. I'm the president. I say, whether there has been a sale or not, whatever it is, just stop it. What kind of a president is that?
We are not asking the president to do anything which is untoward. The president, remember, at the end of the day, is in charge of all of these organizations. Remember that he appoints the board chair, he appoints majority. The president can actually dissolve this board. He has the final authority in these matters. The president, remember, is the one appointing the CEO of SNIT. That's why we have even said one of our demands is that they should all be fired for creating this mess.
One has already lost his job, and the suspicion is that it may have been because he had some opposition to this process.
Yes, very strong opposition. So the president can act. Despite the so-called good governance, best practices, do you know the president has been appointing MDs of these hotels directly, even without recourse to the board? He's been doing that. So in that same spirit, the president can put his foot down and stop this.
The president can, by a fiat, stop everything that the board has done.
Yes.
The two boards, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting proposition. Now, what exactly is wrong? Okay. Let me go to Ejapa Mensah now, and then we'll return to Okudzeto. What do you make first of the demonstration? The suggestion is that you have taken a petition to Shraj. That is an organized, established place where you can use proper due process procedures. Documents will be furnished there. And Shraj has actually begun the process by asking those who are involved to begin the process. What do you think?
I think that it has become apparent to the petitioner that the petition that is submitted to Shraj is not going to wash. Hence, he's finding other means to, as it were, create a certain impression and words he uses to the effect of state capture and all sorts of jargoneering. You see, the Anani case that he read was a specific allegation regarding Dr. Anani and an American lady and the relationship that they've had, pursuant to which he had used his office to award some contract to the lady. Right? That sat, if you like, on all fours with the provisions of the Constitution. Is that what is happening now? Has Mr. Bryan Achampong used this office as a minister to award any contract to any third party that is involved in, for which you can accuse him of conflict of interest? In any event, you see, I always say we overstretch the concept of conflict of interest in this country.
We do?
Absolutely.
Or that we rather, because you see, the opposite. We don't actually appear to appreciate it much.
Maybe the lack of appreciation is what
elsewhere,
informs the overstretch.
Elsewhere they look at the actual, the potential, the apparent, and the potential.
I don't have any difficulty at all.
Okay.
We can look at all the levels. That still does not prohibit a public official in participating in a public transaction. To the extent that he makes appropriate disclosures and removes himself completely from the decision making, such that he doesn't influence it in any way. But what do we hear? That a minister for Agric and a member of parliament for Abetifi owns a company publicly known. SNIT's board takes a decision to divest its interest in hotels, publishes an international competitive tender. The hotel or the company then submits to participate in the tender. Then all of a sudden, the minister's personality is what becomes the issue for conversation. And I hear people talk of don't sell profitable hotels, and all sorts of things. I'm sure you've seen the student documentation relating to the profitability and otherwise, and the return that they are getting from these investments that they've had for in excess of 15 years. Yesterday, I had the benefit of being on Metro TV, and I asked the host whether if he had money, he would put his money in banks that were returning 1.5% for his investment, that do not pay dividends for years. And I go to the point about previous decisions that SSNIT had made. I'm not saying that it was wrong or right. I'm saying that consistently over the years, SSNIT's board makes determinations as regards its investment appetite and what investment was given it return for the funds that they were managing. And so in 2011, it took a decision to initially put together Trust Bank, First Atlantic with EcoBank. At the time, I was working at First Atlantic Merchant Bank. We hadn't met the minimum capital requirements at the time. Trust Bank had met it. EcoBank, obviously, because it's a big boy, had sufficient enough capital. But SSNIT took a decision they wanted to merge all the three. The only reason why First Atlantic was not part of that measure was because the chief executive at the time, Mr. Judata, had made a representation to the board of First Atlantic with SSNIT representatives, in fact, shareholders of First Atlantic, that look, he does not object to First Atlantic participating in any measure. However, capitalize the bank so that the bank can go into those measure discussions on an equal footing with TTB and EcoBank. Samson, we had started the capitalization quest as far back as 2009. SSNIT, the largest shareholder at the time, was never interested in putting any money in First Atlantic Bank anymore. But because of that representation, the next day they submitted a check to pay for additional equity in First Atlantic to enable them dispose of it to EcoBank. Coincidentally, we had engaged EM Capital, headed by Mr. Michael Sean, to help us capitalize the bank. And they had submitted some investment proposal from Kedari nominees from Nigeria. That shareholders meeting, when they approved the acquisition of shares by SSNIT, which would have taken them to 90% holding in the bank, also approved the Kedari transaction. And so, post that approval of those two investments, SSNIT's stake reduced to less than 50%, such that they could not force the measure between First Atlantic, TTB, and EcoBank. That's why they went ahead to do the measure with only EcoBank and Trust Bank. And subsequently used the Bank of Ghana to hoodwink Kedari to buy SSNIT out as part of the approval process, because significant shareholding, you need Bank of Ghana approval before your shareholding can be accepted. But it was an investment decision that SSNIT had taken at the time, that they were no longer interested in investing in banks because it was not returning sufficient enough return, according to them, to the fund. Subsequently, in 2013, they did the same thing to Merchant Bank, where they sold SSNIT's majority stake in Merchant Bank to Fortis. In 2020, 2022, 2023, they decide that, look, these hotels that we have significant investments in, per the document that they've issued, is not generating sufficient enough return to the fund. And so they were disposing of their interest, or at least a significant part of it, to a strategic investor, so that SSNIT can reduce its risk in those hotels. They go through a public tender, and all of a sudden that becomes an issue. How consistent are we? In any event, Samson, I'm sure you contribute to the SSNIT pension fund.
Of course.
I do as well. Samokuje told us, is it prudent for the contributions that we make to be invested in banks that are not paying any dividends to our fund? And at the very least, if they were, making a return of 1.5%, you will support the board of Senate to keep holding that investment and keep putting money in it? I certainly will not.
The suggestion is you don't have to sell. You don't have to divest your interest.
So what do you do?
What you do, change course,
Haven't
change
they?
management.
Haven't they? Haven't they in the past and yielded no result?
So something is certainly wrong.
Absolutely. But what are they doing?
If a private investor can see the profits in the entity that is going downhill, then there's something good in there.
I agree. I happen to work in the public service now, coming from a private sector background. The attitude is completely different. And so what has the board decided to do? Are they disposing of all the Senate's interest in the hotels? Are they? They are shedding off 60% to reduce their exposure. Because for 15 years, and bring a private sector player who will bring that kind of private sector attitude to ensure that they generate the requisite return for you and I, the fund owners. It becomes an issue.
What does 60%?
The only
what does
issue
60% for the private investor render you in the scheme of things?
It gives you a return if they make profit. And the private investor, because they are minded to ensure that the investment generates the requisite profit that we are not getting in the public space. And that is what has informed all the state-owned assets that have been disposed of during the tenure of previous governments, including the NDC, primarily. But it's Bryan Champion. So all hell must break loose.
But this is not new, though. In 2013, you remember, Andy Awuni.
So let's admit, I agree.
Andy Awuni was in the presidency working for
not a problem at all.
When Merchant Bank came up, for sale, Andy Awuni was against it. He went even to the courts. Yeah.
So it goes back to the issue that this is nothing but politics. Pure and simple. It has nothing to do with the interest of SNIT or the pension fund holders. It has nothing to do with anything but the personality of Bryan Champion, who is acquiring that asset, who happens to be an MPP member, who hasn't breached any law, either constitutional or otherwise. That is the only basis for all this noise.
He hasn't breached any law.
What law has he breached?
The provisions of the Constitution.
Show me. Show me.
He needs a certificate of the Speaker.
Very good.
To do a job for emoluments.
You see?
And we understand he doesn't have a certificate.
Says who? I don't have a problem. Where's the recourse? Oh, I'm coming. Where is the recourse to charge? Read chapter 24, article 287. An allegation that the public officer has contravened or has not complied with the provision of this chapter. It's only a 3-page chapter, chapter 24. The article 98 that he makes reference to. You can only go to the Speaker to lodge a complaint.
I've talked about 284. I went to Shraj because of 284. 287 is the forum, which is Shraj.
Wait.
Yes.
284 says, a public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest. Has Bryan Champion put himself in any position relative to this transaction that his personal interest is conflicting with the performance of his public office? Is he a Minister for Finance? Is he the board? Is he on the board of Senate?
He's not at cabinet.
Thank you very much. Is it a cabinet decision? Have you seen any cabinet memo relative to this transaction that SNIT board has submitted this transaction to cabinet for approval and Bryan Champion participated in the decision?
You are not sure?
Have you seen it? You see? Look, Samson, I'm coming. Oh, please. You see? So he says it's going to charge under Article 284.
And 286.
And I'm saying that 284 can only be relevant in that other case that you read, where Bryan Champion, in this case, if he was contracting as minister with a third-party company that he had an interest in, then you could properly found an allegation of conflict of interest against him. That is what the procedure that is spelled out in 287 says. That when anybody breaches a provision of this chapter 24, go to charge. But I'm saying that because you yourself realize that Bryan has not breached any 284 provision, strictly so-called, you are bringing in 98. And I'm saying that 98, if you say, and I'm not in a position to verify, he's breached it, your recourse is not to charge. And so you go and gather people and go and do demonstration and play NDC songs. So it's pure politicking. And use the tag that suits them. State capture. Where is the state capture in this? Then I go back to ask, when you were selling those entities in the past, was it state capture? He says he started his activism in 2008, but it went underwater between 2009 and 2016 when he was in government, when all these transactions were taking place. If you had the interest of the pension holders at heart, why did you not object to the sale of these assets to whoever? Because from what I hear, if he says that it's not personalizing the issue because it's Bryan Acheampong who is involved, then the principle is that all these assets ought not be sold, whether they are making profit or not. But is that even a legitimate basis to proceed?
The OECD's guidelines on questions of conflict of interest, which assists many nations to do what they have to do, and which I suppose also influences the code of conduct for public officers done by the Shraj in 2006, defines conflict of interest as, it says, a conflict of interest involves a conflict between the public duty and private interests of a public official, in which the public official has private capacity interests which could improperly influence the performance of their official duties and responsibilities.
Yes.
There's a potential of the prospective, if it's not now, if it's not actual. You don't see that here. That
you tell me. Maybe I'm blinded.
Okay.
And so use the provisions that you've outlined eloquently and relate it to Bryan Acheampong, specific, relative to this transaction, and tell us. I'm happy to concede. But I've read the provisions, I've read the Constitution, I've looked at the transaction, the facts, as put out there. It has no connection whatsoever to the performance of his personal duty, his public duty, to even ground an allegation of conflict of interest on his part.
If you ask my view, I'll say my view of conflict of interest, the way I translate it, I see it as a principle that is actually enunciated in the scriptures, in the Bible, where it says, abstain from all appearances of evil.
I agree.
All appearances.
Not a problem at all.
Just the appearance of it.
Not a problem.
Because that is actually conflict of interest.
So what appearance of evil do you see in this transaction, that public, that the facts as we know it?
So for the public, the members who went...
I'm not talking of the public.
No. For the public, the members who went on the street, the chief in, is it Edina, who spoke against this long before, and also this Wulomo who joined, those people, it appears to me their thinking is that once you are in government, you are an MP, you are a minister, and you have a company which you are the sole owner, you should not be participating in the purchase of a state property for, and some agree, some say, for a price less than what something could have actually been the price. And that your job is to protect the public interest. So if you sit in cabinet and there's something going wrong with SNIT and how it is investing for pensioners and for all of us, your approach should not be to buy what they are doing. rather see how you can use that to get the profit for the public, rather than seeking to get a profit for yourself?
You see, they could be right. But is that a law? It could be. And yesterday, I happened to be on a program with Sami Okudzeto. He says he's promoting a private members bill. Because obviously, in his own view, the law as presently constituted does not address the peculiar situation that we seem to find ourselves in.
Yeah, that's a clear admission. But
I don't
must
have a
we
difficulty.
reduce everything to law and leave out
Why,
morality?
I don't have what's the issue of morality? And by whose standard? In any event, the bastardization of the individual involved, as if he's committed some crime, that he is using his office to capture some asset of the state. Is that factual?
Okay. So you've been speaking for almost 20 minutes now. This is what I'm going to do. We have to take another break, but I need to bring in Okudzeto again. And then Dr. Theo Champong, hold on there. I'll come to you. He's asking, what wrong has Bryan done as the sole single shareholder of the Rock City, hotels, which appear to be doing very well? And of course, it's a business interest of going concern, so they must be interested. And you just mentioned, was it yesterday or so, as I was following you, about when he was saying, if you are able to prove some of the claims you are making about their tax issues, he will dash you a certain Akosombo hotel or so, and you say that's also another revelation that he's bought that hotel too. So he's a business, he's expanding. What should stop him? He says once he started in 2018 thereabouts and 2019, it's a business that he's doing, and he should be allowed to carry out his business for as long as he's not infringing any law. That's the point Japan Mensah is making.
Nobody has said that the Honorable Bryan Champong should not do business. When he was building Rock City, did you hear anybody protesting? He's buying private hotels, announcing them regularly. Who has protested? There's been a lot of red herring and deliberate ad hominem fallacy that the Japan Mensah has engaged in this morning. This issue is not about snit selling. That's not what this issue has been about. This issue is fundamentally a conflict of interest matter. We are saying that public officials should stay away from the purchase of state assets.
He tells you there's no law against that.
All this, it is not for him to determine. That's why I've gone to Shraj. If the Constitution thought that members of parliament who are lawyers could be the final say, the Constitution will have said that. The Constitution says the forum is Shraj. He's not the Shraj commissioner. He doesn't have a final say on this matter.
But that's a fact, right? The law does not prohibit a public official from participating in public transactions.
But the law provides mechanisms. What you must do, go through a particular committee, get a certificate from the speaker. The Honorable Bryan Champong has confirmed on this station that he hasn't done any of that. He spoke on the Super Morning Show.
He's showing you the remedy for that.
He hasn't done any of that.
The remedy for that.
Article 284 says that don't have any semblance. Look, everything can appear okay, but would not be expedient. Article 284 is clear. Directly or indirectly, even the possibility in the future.
That's right.
And I have read what the commission has held when it comes to conflict of interest. It's a very high bar. Public officials, I'm not aware of any country in this world where they practice good governance, where public officials who are taking the decisions about the sale of these assets are allowed to buy these assets from their colleagues. And you have a colleague cabinet minister who comes here to defend his colleague.
I don't want to be interrupting you, but he's pointing you to the conflict of interest rules, which includes disclosure, recusal,
and
sometimes at worst, resignation.
And he has not He has not provided any evidence that those rules have been complied with.
And you have not provided any evidence that those rules have been infringed.
I have.
That he participated in the process in a manner that he's conflicted.
Have you read the full Shraj petition? Right from the beginning, what you must do as a public official, if you are MP, if you are minister, I've provided evidence that he hasn't complied with that under Article 78 and Article 98.
That's noted.
I have also provided evidence of insider dealing at Shraj.
Insider dealing?
Yes. I have also provided evidence of arm twisting. If you look at the case of Ridge Royal, how the 1st April 1999 resolution of the directors was flagrantly disregarded in this matter. I've provided all of that. I've provided evidence of how the procurement process changed, strangely, from 6 hotels to 4, leaving out Buzia and Trust, the 2 hotels that were not really, juicy, if you look at the books, which should have necessarily mandated a fresh start of the procurement process. All of that has been provided to Shraj. I have also provided evidence of how this whole deal, no value for money is guaranteed. I have submitted to Shraj the memos from SNIT, including the valuation report, which reveal that these 4 hotels, after the procurement laws were mutilated and violated, and it was changed to 4, that 4 hotels should have, the fair market value should have been $121 million. I've provided evidence that the Honorable Bryan Champon is offering $61 million, just half the price. All of these matters that amount will be looked.
It's not upfront.
Yes, it's not upfront. It's over a 3-year period. You take the case of Elmina, for example. The valuation report says it should go for not less than $7.5 million. Bryan Champon is offering $2 million. You take La Palme Royal. The valuation report says that don't go below $47 million. He's offering $31 million. I've provided all of that. And I'm saying that this has all the characteristics, all the trappings of a powerful insider who is having his way. Then, to strengthen that point, I've also gone into a similar transaction when he purchased NIS's 25% shares in the Grand Regency Hotel in Kumasi. According to the minutes I have submitted to Shraj, if you read the minutes carefully and the final offer of Rock City, the valuation report said that 25% shares should be valued at 8.6 million Ghana cedis for 25% shares. Rock City refused to pay the fair market value. They refused and only offered 7.4 million in installments. The Ghanaian worker was shortchanged by 1.2 million Ghana cedis. And that's what I call the unholy alliance between SNIT and Rock City. And I've made all of that case at Shraj. So you see a consistent pattern where value for money is not guaranteed, rules are not followed, procurement laws are breached, and there is total disregard, for due process. And others cannot compete. If you look at how the rules keep changing.
The evidence shows it was an open process. And eventually there were some 9 and eventually trimmed down to 6, competitors, so to speak.
Yes, SNIT has put out that report. And it's interesting when you look at the 6 shortlisted companies. Very, very interesting, which includes Spartan Ives, the same guys, the Blair brothers who have taken over the Labadi beachfront. They are in that 6 shortlists.
Freddie Blair has been explaining that to the media and asking the same questions. SNIT has a board. So what is all this hula baloo about? If the board finds that we are opening base for something and this is good for us and they take it, why are we up in arms?
Let me state here that Freddie Blair is board chair of GMPC. We seem to hear him more on the SNIT board than on GMPC. I wonder what his interest is. Is it because his sons are doing business at the beachfront? hijacked the beachfront.
In any case, that's also a matter in the courts.
Is it because they set up Spartan Ives, which sought to take over these hotels and is amongst the 6 shortlisted companies? His children are adults. He should allow his children to speak and stop distracting us. Look, if you even pay regard to organized labor's concerns in their May 20 statement, very revealing. Organized labor informs us that the original proposal of the sale of Snate's interest in the 6 hotels was reduced to 4. We hold the view that this renders the whole process null and void, and this is the point I was making earlier. Then, organized labor is also revealing, you remember they have reps on the board, that the proposed payment terms have been varied from the original MOU based on the recommendation of the transaction advisor.
Abraham Kumsin is joining us. He's on.
And this is
Champong is also joining us.
And this is a transaction advisor. Don't forget, we have spent $500,000, $491,000 engaging. And if we won't take the advice, if their recommendation, the fair market value, will not be
the little
complied
point
with.
I need you to get to before I bring in these other guests is what has happened in the last few days. Bryan Champong has accused you of just peddling falsehood about Rock City's
filings at the GRA.
Financials as far as the GRA is concerned, and has dared you that you don't have any evidence. If you have them, show them. He's going to give you a gift of a house in Trazaco, and even give you his hotel in Akosombo.
In Akosombo, yes, yes. So I listened to him.
Very briefly.
And he was categorical that I have nothing. I don't have the filings, and I have no documents from GRA. I'll give you a copy. These are the documents. I have all the filings. And yesterday on another program, I gave a copy to the Honorable,
I have it here.
to the Honorable Jafamesi. All his filings from 2021 to 2024. So he is wrong. And if you go through the filings, this is not a company which is in a better financial position than Labadi Beach Hotel. From if you look at 2021, 2021, they themselves went to the GRA and said that we don't expect to make profit in 2021. 2 years later,
that's not the same as a company making losses.
Yes, but so no profits. Then 2 years later, they said that, look, we had some 2 withholding tax credits. So give that to us. Just about 20,000 Ghana cedis for 2021. So no profits. You come to 2022, and 2022, no filings at all. This is a company coming to teach Labadi, Lapam and Co. best corporate, governance.
So you are reading their 2022 filings, and you say 2022 no filings. How do you say that?
Yes. So in 2022, according to the report we have here, and you will understand why I said that. So they didn't file returns for the whole year. Then after my expose, I'm going to Shraj on the 17th of May, 2024. A few days after, they rushed to Shraj on the 23rd of May, 2024.
They rushed to
GRA, pardon me. They rushed to GRA on the 23rd of May, 2024. And they said that, look, 2022, we didn't make profits. Then they go back, based on all the discussions going on in the country, on the same 23rd May, 2024, and say that, look, actually, we think that you can process us for a liability of $383,000. And GRA imposes a penalty on them that for 2 years you didn't come to honor your tax.
So the 2022 filing,
was done.
Did you say plus 2021 or just 2022?
So 2022. So 2021 they did it in 2023, 2 years after.
Right.
Then 2022 they did it in 2024, 23rd May 2024. They were fined a corporate income tax penalty.
This coincided with after you have filed your complaints at Shraj.
Yes.
It could be a mere coincidence. You don't think so?
Mere coincidence. Interesting. And that they were very busy on the 23rd of May 2024 because for the 2024 as well, that is when they went to Shraj and GRA. Why do I keep saying Shraj? They went to GRA and asked that they alter their records. They do a debit adjustment, even though they had estimated that they will make losses in 2024. So you see, I mean, we wish Rock City well, but their records at GRA does not show.
Tell me this. Hold on a minute. There's something interesting here.
Yes.
The 2022 filing is done
in 2024.
In 2024 of May, is that?
Yes, of May, 23rd May 2024.
Okay, when did they put in their bid for the hotels?
Interesting. In March 2022.
March 2022?
Yes.
That would mean that they didn't have a tax clearance certificate.
Yes, they didn't have a tax clearance certificate.
Okay, so we need some explanation here because I have sat on a procurement entity before as its lawyer. Yes. When we are going through the process, the first things we take and we disqualify tax clearance, SNATE, certificates, those things.
Yes.
This cannot be possible.
So they should have been disqualified ab initio. And all of this evidence is before Schwartz. So we are waiting for the Schwartz report. It will be revealing. Because how do you allow them to qualify for the process without a tax clearance certificate? They can't say that they relied on the 2021 one, because even the 2021 one, they filed in 2023 after the process. So what's going on here?
Okay.
And let me quickly debunk this claim that, look...
very quickly, because my other guests have been
SNATE is
on the line for a while.
wants to save us. He's gone on a campaign of, workers should be concerned that we are not getting returns on our money. I have here an extract from the SIGA report. The worst performing SNATE investment is STC. STC has 80%, SNATE has 80% shares in STC. If you look at the SIGA report, in 2017, STC made a loss of 28.9 million. 2018, 18.1 million. 2019, 27.9 million. In 2020, 32.5 million. In 2021, 52.5 million. SIGA is reporting that STC is making losses. The hemorrhage there is at an average of 32 million Ghana cedis. If this is about, as Ejapa Mensah is claiming, if it is about SNATE wanting to save worker investments, they should have been starting from STC. But clearly, it's not profitable.
All right, so...
You don't have a Labadi...
The GRA too appears would have to answer some questions.
I know the guests have been waiting, but it's important.
Quickly.
Yesterday, I advised him. He didn't take it.
What did you tell him?
I told him that he should be cautious in putting people's integrity on the line when his facts can be questioned.
Okay. Let's question the
because,
facts.
You see, thankfully, you are a lawyer. You made a categorical allegation on your program with Semi Jimfi that Rock City made losses in 2023. It turns out that Rock City has not even filed its annual returns for 2023. They have written to the GRA tax office, sought an extension for them to file their corporate accounts, where you see their profit and loss and the taxes that they pay.
You clearly are not reading the document.
Please, I will come there. And I will expose the deception.
Please don't interrupt him. Let's hear.
See, you go ahead.
They've written a letter to the tax office to extend it to end of June. So they haven't filed for 2023. So how do you determine that they made losses in 2023? You go and take this document.
Here, he hasn't said they made loss. He points out that they indicated that they were not going to make profits.
Yes. Read page 1 of 14 of 2023. Read it.
You see,
they went to GRA.
I recall when he said it. I said
this
making profit is not the same as making profit.
Exactly.
You see, withholding tax credit form. 12 February, 8 March 2024. This is the select
20th April
assessment year. February, withholding tax all through. You go to page 2, withholding tax. Is it profit and loss?
You give me one.
Go to 20th April 2023. I thought
Samson, withholding tax. Withholding tax.
Okay.
Withholding tax, page 3. Then you come.
Okay.
CIT, because the withholding tax, right, is what is used to offset whatever profits that you make. And so you look at the corporate tax income CIT totals. 543,791. He says this demonstrates that company has made losses. Go to the next page, PAYE. Then this is what they've paid January, February, March, and the total pay as you earn total for the up to May is 256. Then the next column, withholding tax.
Income tax, and you are talking about withholding tax.
Where is the corporate income tax? They have not filed their accounts for
entry
2020.
number 5.
Entry number what?
They went to the GRA.
Were you there? Does it say so?
Yes, 20th April.
That what?
Why? Are you?
Read it.
Are you blind?
Read it.
20th April 2023, the process returns for 2023, reference number C006446833 R001. They told the GRA they anticipate that they will not make profit in 2023.
You can interpret this to mean
yes, that's what it means. GRA. Yes, that is what it is. That's what the entry is.
Thankfully,
read the document.
Not a problem. You can do your propaganda.
I mean, you keep shifting the goalposts.
Look,
first you say I have nothing.
Because
there are no
you
documents.
look at it, you see withholding tax totals. You see value-added tax standard totals.
This is
the document that you are holding. NHIS Get Fund COVID-19 totals.
But the entry clearly says it's not going to make profit.
It's not going to make profit.
That's what he's saying.
No,
which I say is not the same as making a loss.
Yes. Where does it say so? Unless I don't understand English. He says process returns for 2024. Does it say that I'm not making losses or I'm making profit? Is that the interpretation of these words?
That is it. That you will not make profit for the year.
Are you serious?
That's what it is. You haven't made profit for the first quarter. But you don't anticipate that you make profit.
In any event,
he speaks about the filing.
Yes.
He speaks about the filing which they went back to update.
Not a problem.
Where initially they said they were not going to make profit, and then went back and said we think we are making something, so change that for us.
Okay. You are a corporate lawyer. You work with GRA. You work for companies that work with GRA. Every year they make an assessment of your taxes and apply it up front.
That's correct.
So you can't go assuming, and I'm not speaking to this because I don't have the facts.
Yeah.
So you can't go and challenge the assessment that they made that, hey, primary operations.
You certainly can.
Yeah, you can.
Does it show that you are profitable or unprofitable at that point?
Okay, that's a point I
because you can only establish the profitability when they file their annual returns.
The company you speak for,
and they have not filed it.
Where did they get their tax clearance certificate to participate in the bid? Where did they get it from?
Ask the issuer, not me.
You are speaking for the
because tax clearance,
he raised an issue.
They pay taxes, pay as you earn.
Where is the tax clearance certificate?
VAT, all of it is in the document that he is holding. This document that he gave me yesterday, you can have a copy and glance through.
No, but he's pointing to in May when they filed 2022.
See.
And in 2021, which was filed in 2023. So the question is, at the time they were putting in the bid, did they have a tax clearance certificate, valid one for the period?
But if it was part of the eligibility criteria, then you expect that, look,
it is always standard. It's always tax, snakes, they are always standard.
I agree.
Yeah. But we take them and we disqualify.
So for you and I, who only pay PAYE,
right?
If you go for a tax clearance certificate, it will indicate whether you've paid those your personal income taxes.
Right.
For companies that pay as you earn, who pay VAT, who pay NHIS, who pay all of that. They will indicate in the columns the taxes that you've paid on each item and for the period.
Only when you have filed your returns.
Hold on.
But you see, withholding tax is filed monthly.
We are not being fair to our guests on the line.
VAT is filed monthly.
Okay.
Your profit, corporate income tax. I'm speaking to facts. And you know it.
Please don't interject him that way.
Corporate income tax returns is filed annually.
Yes. That's correct.
And I'm saying to you, for the record, that the assertion that you made on your show with Sami Jemfi that in 2023, Rock City made losses is false because they haven't even filed their
so that's the point you've already made. Let me go to the lines now. Mr. Abraham Kumsin. Sorry, gentlemen, hold on. Mr. Abraham Kumsin, thank you very much. And please pardon us for holding you on for a while. Briefly, we want you to tell us organized labor's position. Organized labor, what's your problem? You have a representation on the board. They have gone to meetings and agreed that we are, going to divest this much of our interest. The horses have bolted. You are now trying to shut the stable doors and stampeding the president to do what exactly?
Thank you, Samson. We want to thank Honorable Ablakwa. In fact, we were deeply drunk. We were deeply drunk and we were asleep. Because our representatives, I blame them. And I'll continue to blame them for misrepresenting us. These discussions started from 2018. These sales started discussing from 2018. It was only after Honorable Ablakwa raised issues he went to Shrag before some of us heard of it. But what the reps should be doing was to brief us about what goes on there at the Senate board. And this very serious issue of selling of a strategic asset, and look at the location of this facility. You want to sell this thing out and you didn't bring this thing to our attention. Look, if we had heard of it, this demonstration that happened last week, it would have been just something. We have mobilized the whole country workers, including those in the informal economy, to hit the streets. Why? Why do you sell our assets? And look, me, I'm not even concerned about who is buying and all that. Yes, it's an issue. But why should we sell such assets? For what? For how much? If we know that Bryan has the capacity to run the SNIT facilities, why don't we employ him? We could have employed Bryan as the CEO to run the hotels for us. Because they can't complain, SNIT can't complain of money. Because look, every month, they need not go anywhere to go and look for loan or whatever. The inflow from the contributions just coming. If you are an employer and you default payment, you'll be in trouble. So the dues is coming. And so I don't see why they have challenge with capital. What is it? Look, we will have to make sure that the National Pensions Act itself is amended. Because we own SNIT. We own the SNIT. Government is not contributing a peso apart from the employees' contribution of.
May I remind you, when Andy Awuni felt that the merchant bank transaction was not above board, and he felt that pensioners and contributors' interest was not properly represented, he went to the court, and the court told him he was a busybody. He should just get out. If you have board members, let the people on the board deal with it. Do you think you can penetrate beyond the board representing your interests?
Yeah, see, the judicial system is another problem, but I won't go there. But that's why we have 4 strong people on the board. So if you have any issue, look, maybe if I were there, the board would have been dissolved, because I won't sit there for such decisions to be taken. Look, who can defend what? Me, I blame our people, because otherwise, this defense from the government and why do we demonstrate all this, it won't come in. Because unfortunately, the MPs who were concerned about this very wicked deal came out. We should have even done it for them to even support us, not for them to even initiate. Because organized labor, we are not organized, as I see it. We are not. Because if we are organized, why do we sit down from 2018 that this transaction started to date? Before we are now seeing...
The president asked you to meet the minister over this matter. That meeting has been over. You guys don't appear to be satisfied. So he's going to meet you himself on Tuesday. What again? What do you want?
See, the minister himself wasn't aware about this. The minister was even questioning our representatives on the board. That, well, you guys, you have been involved all these years from 2018 up to now. Why didn't you raise issues? You didn't talk about it. Why now? The minister himself, like, found out from him. What is this?
So what do you think the president can do on Tuesday when you meet him? What do you think he can do?
The president, what we expect him to do is to stop, because like Honorable Abraham said, Shrag hasn't that powers to injunct. Otherwise, you have to stop the whole process for us to sit down and really know what is going on. But my fears are that before the president even finished talking to us, they would have finished the whole, deal, gazetted, and it becomes another issue, even though we can fight it. But it will take another strength to do that. So what we are saying is that the president, for now, he should stop everything. He should tell the Minister of Employment that, Maza, these boys are aggrieved. They have an issue, which he thinks that they have a case. So please, for now, stop whatever discussion that you are having with this sale.
All right.
So why do you tell it? For what? Why don't you employ Bryan to come and then manage the hotels instead of giving it out?
Do you think if the president could do what you are asking, he will call for a meeting with you before he would do it?
Why is he calling us? To tell us what? To convince us or what? Then there's no need for us to even to go to that meeting. There's no need for us to see him. If there's nothing that he can do, why is he called us in the first place?
Okay.
Then he should stop it. He can stop it. He has the power to stop it. But why? Why is that? Everything in this country. What is this? And somebody is defending it. Look at that. You are defending it. What people are stopping? Look, ILO has written that in about 9 to 10 years' time, Senate scheme will collapse. And this is alarming. I've been writing, ILO. You know the capacity of ILO.
SNIT has put a rejoinder to that it's not accurate.
They are lying. Then you must even sack all the SNIT, the managers. Look, the law must be amended so that they remove all these people there. They are there serving their own interest.
Okay.
Serving interest.
Okay, Mr. Abraham Kunsin, thank you very much for your time this morning. And he is the Secretary General of the Federation of Labour. Dr. Theo Champong Dr. Theo Champong joins us in the next final installment or segment of this program, and that has to do with the Parliament's boycott by the minority. But of course, he will share his views on this quickly. Before we do that, we take a quick break. We'll be right back.